I think all of us here know about Doki Doki Literature Club mods. They are the reason the game is still very popular to this day, and if it weren't for them, this game probably would be dead and gone by like the year it came out. And to help bring attention to all the hard work that goes into creating Doki Doki Literature Club mods, I interviewed MsMod and we discussed everything DDLC and mod related, and of course the development of My Cloudy Reality Plus, which is the mod that they created. And let's get right into the interview. Do you mind introducing yourself to the people watching?
Okay, so I'm MsMod, and I'm a Doki Doki mod creator. I made the mod My Cloudy Reality Plus, and I've taught myself. I'm like a self-taught coder, and I've been doing it for 3 years now.
All right, that sounds great. So you do have previous experience with creating, well, I guess anything that involves programming?
So Doki Doki was the first thing I did. So I mean, I haven't experienced I haven't experimented really anything else other than Doki Doki or visual novels.
That's pretty interesting. So you said you were coding for making DDLC stuff for 3 years. Is this the only mod you've worked on, or have you worked on others?
So, I mean, I help other people with their mods. But My Cloudy Reality Plus is the only mod that's like officially mine. I've made like updates to it and like little things for that, but that's like my only mod. There's another mod I've made, but I never released it because it was a mod I made for a friend.
All right, that's nice. So when you make your mods, how long would you say they take? Because I would assume they would take a while, since you have to, of course, like, do all the scripting and stuff, and then you have to come up with all the writing. And some of these mods are really long. They're like 8 hours long. I imagine it would take a long time to create them. How long would it?
Yeah.
How long does it usually take to create an entire mod, like full release?
So, okay, it really depends on what you want. Like, my mod took about 2 years to fully do, but it was also, I was still forming a team as the mod was getting created, so, you know, there would just be some slow bumps there. But there was another mod I managed to make in a week, because this person and I had an idea for a Halloween mod, and we made it in just 1 week. So it's all about the motivation. But when it comes to like these longer mods, there are some projects I've been helping out with for a year or so now. It can take a while. It's all about how quickly you can come up with the ideas and the writing and everything. So it also helps about like how big your team is will also help. If you're a one-person thing, which my mod was for a while, that's why maybe it took me 2 years. It could have taken one if I had my team at the very beginning, but I was doing everything on my own for a while, so it doubled. But when I was doing that Halloween one, it took me a week because I had 3 or 4 people helping me with that from the very beginning.
Yeah, so it does sound like it takes a long time to create these mods. You said 2 years. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of work you have to do. So for My Cloudy Reality, you said you had a team of people, but you worked by yourself at first.
Yeah.
So did you do everything at first? You were doing all the coding, you were doing all the writing and all the graphics and the GUIs and all that stuff? How would you describe the difficulty? It must be pretty hard managing all the things, because there's of course a lot of stuff that goes into creating a mod. Like I said, the writing, you gotta get all the sprites together. Was there like anything that would really stuck out as something hard and challenging when you're creating these mods?
The most challenging thing was the coding because, you know, with the art or whatnot, the first step is coming up with the idea. And then, you know, you're given a template. You know, you have the Dokis, you have this world. So you can make all of these ideas. And I started out and I had this huge idea of something I wanted to do. But you can't be that creative when there's code in the way, because if I have this cool idea, but I don't know the coding steps to do it, it can't happen. So that's one of the biggest step backs, is if I can't figure out how to code that, it cannot happen.
Okay, very interesting. So I have never created a DDLC mod. I've always wanted to, and I really respect people who make that stuff because it seems like pretty hard stuff. I know a little bit about programming, like Python, all that stuff. What do you even call, like, the engine or the thing you write all the stuff in? What do you use to make DDLC mods?
So the actual coding thing, it's like a Visual Studio code, and then you run the code through RenPy. So that's how you do it.
So I'm assuming all DDLC mods use RenPy, right?
As far as I know, yes, unless you were to completely rebuild it on a completely different build. I haven't heard anyone do that. If they really wanted to, they probably could. But for it to be simple, I would think everyone uses RenPy.
Very good to know. Okay, so we talked about how the mods are programmed and the programming stuff. I wanted to talk a bit about the graphics and all the visuals, like sprite packs and backgrounds. Where do you get all that stuff from? Do you create it all yourself? Did you have your team help you out? Or is there, like, what do you call it, like the Unity store where you can have other assets to use? How exactly do you get all of them?
So the biggest help is Reddit, because there's an entire Doki Doki modding community page. And that's where, I mean, if you need anything for a mod, they have an entire Discord server too. I mean, they have this one section that's all about free music and art and coding and all this other stuff you can use. There's always people there to help you with mods, and that's where I got a lot of my team members as well. And so, you can go there looking for something. Now, if you don't see something you want there, then yes, you gotta either find an artist or do it yourself. I've been able to teach myself how to edit sprites on my own and make new poses or whatever. It took a while, but I taught myself that. But for example, there's this one sprite in my mod. I'll have to send it later so you can, show it. But it wasn't supposed to be an actual sprite. I saw someone on Instagram post it, and I texted them and I was like, hey, can I use this as an actual sprite? And they sent it to me. And so now it is an actual sprite. It was never planned to be, but it is.
Alright, so you do create some sprites, you use some from Reddit, because I'm assuming that a lot of people have free stuff that you can use for mods. And you said that you've edited sprites to make your own. How did you do that? Did you use something like GIMP or Photoshop, or is there something inside like the development process that you do to manipulate the original sprites to create your own?
So I use an art software. It's called Fire Alpaca. It's free, but it has all the layers and you can do cool glitch effects, and I mean it's really nice once you get to figuring out how it works. So it's a lot of just, I'd play around with the sprites, I'd move it around, and the most difficult part was figuring out the shading and just the style, because you want it to look like the original style. It was just a lot of messing around, to be honest, and I like how they turned out.
So we talked about the graphics a bit, and I know you said you had a team you worked with, at least for the other half of the mod. So how do you describe your team? Are there any people who like really help out a lot when it comes to creating mods? And what do you think about it?
Okay, so I think one of the biggest people who helped me in my mod would be Belko. They did a lot of mod in my art. If you see a lot of it, they did the menu art, and they are also super creative. They've helped me come up with ending ideas and all of this other stuff. And I mean, they still help me today. They're a great friend, and I don't know how to explain it. They're just super creative, and I don't think I would have the mod the way it is without them. And I think another important person would be Fumi, because she did a lot of the background art and like the CGs. I think those two were also one of the main reasons we had a Doki Doki mod like expo for 2024, mods that were made in 2024. And my mod won for best comedy and for best art. And the art one was definitely because of them. So I appreciate them a lot.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you got a very helpful team of very skilled individuals who can create art and stuff. Do you do art as well? Are you an artist? And did you create artwork for your mod?
Yes, there were some art I did on my own, just because I would just randomly start drawing them, and then I'd look at it and I'd be like, I could use this for something. If I'm gonna put all this work into drawing it, I'm gonna use it. So there were a few times where all of my artists were busy too, because again, this mod took 2 years. I can't expect them to be free for 2 whole years. So if I had an idea for something, like at the last minute, I added like 4 other endings, and I was like, well, this is last minute. I'm not gonna make them pull out a bunch of art. So there was a few of the images I had to do on my own, but I did learn about the style while doing it. So it was a learning experience.
So on my channel, I make a lot of videos about looking at fan art on Twitter or Reddit or r/DDLC mods, because sometimes they post artwork from the mods there. Do you ever post your artwork in other places too?
So normally I post most stuff on my Instagram, and I kind of just, the artists who do it, I give them the freedom to post it if they want to. They'll text me, they'll be like, can I post it? And I'll be like, look, this is your art. If you want to show it to people, don't let me stop you. Sometimes I'll make them wait till the mod is out and then I will, but I do believe my artists, one of them does post on their like TikTok, and I know they post on Twitter sometimes. I don't know how much they have posted, I just know that they've put it out there. And my other artists, they also only post on Instagram. So, the art's kind of out there. I mean, if you search up My Cloudy Reality, you're gonna pull up some of that art, so.
That's great to know. So you post it on Instagram. What is your Instagram? Do you mind sharing it just so I can give you a shout out on the channel?
Yeah, so it's MsMod Gamer Queen. There's like an underscore under all of it, so it's Miss_Mod_Gamer_Queen. So it makes it simple.
Okay, so for all of you who are interested, make sure to check it out. So it sounds like you have a lot of experience making mods. It sounds like a lot of stuff goes into it since you make the artwork and you do all of the programming. What about the writing? Do you come up with the writing? I'm assuming you do a lot of it, but do you get help with others, and how exactly does it work? Does everyone write their own part of the mod, or do you just all have a bunch of ideas and then create one, like dedicate one person to do all the writing?
So it's a little bit different for each project. Since I was the developer, the game dev of my mod, I wrote all of it by myself. So all of the endings, there's over 20. I wrote all of them by myself. And when I was done writing them, I would give them to team members and have them proofread it. Or if they read this and they were like, this makes no sense, I'd be like, okay, you can take it, you rewrite it, and then we'll put the two together that I wrote and they wrote. And then we kind of, fuse it, mix it together. And so, I did all the writing, I did all the base writing, and then I'd give it to my team members and they'd help touch it up because I suck at spelling. But for some of the other projects I'm helping with, there's one I'm helping with right now where there's 3 of us and we're all writing, but we just gave each other little sections. So right now there's a choice of, oh, who do you want to talk to first? And, I'm working on writing for Monica and Natsuki. If you're talking to them, so I'm writing that part. And then they're working on, if you talk to Yuri or Sayori. So sometimes it depends on the team, but it does make it easier to section it out. For me at the time, it was just easier if I wrote it and then had someone look at it and add to it if they needed to.
That does sound like a great way of approaching it. You have some people working on different parts of the dialogue, where if you're talking to a different character, then you can have different people, so you can do multiple parts of the mod simultaneously, because I imagine writing would be a big part of it since there is so much. You said there was 20 endings, and that sounds like a lot of work, and a lot of hard work and dedication had to go into that mod. But out of the 20 endings, which one would you say is your favorite?
My favorite ending. See, that's where it gets tricky. I wrote all of them just, randomly. I feel like one of the ones I had the most fun with would be the bad ending, and that was because Belko, the one team member I was talking about earlier, we came up with that one together, and they were so excited to make these like scary looking sprites and scare people with them. And I mean, it was a lot of fun. I got to like go all over YouTube and find these scary sound effects, and it was experimenting. I wanted to see what I could do. I just made it where MC was just confused and lost the whole time too. So that one might have been one of my favorites. And then, I don't know, these aren't really technically endings, but 2 other scenes I really enjoyed writing is there's one part in the mod where you're watching a movie with Sayori and she ends up falling asleep or whatnot, but I enjoyed writing that one a lot. They're my favorite. Sayori is my favorite. And another scene is when we're hanging out with Monica for the day and MC and Monica are like playing video games. I enjoyed writing that one as well.
That's great. You got a lot of scenes that you did enjoy. Actually sounds like you really were enjoying creating this mod, at least how you were describing it with writing, which is a great thing. Were there any things that inspired you to start creating DDLC mods in the first place?
I think about that a lot. And the craziest thing is I'm not one to hold on to any hobbies. I will do something, I'll like it for 2 months, and I will never touch it again. For starting this, the entire reason I started coding was because of that one mod I made for a friend. I was terrified of Doki Doki Literature Club. I hated it, and I was like, I can't do this. I was so sensitive at the time. And my one friend was like, nope, you're gonna suck it up and we're gonna play it. And I was so scared. But they sat me down and we played through the whole game, and after it, I just sat there and I was like, okay, this is awesome. And her and I always like to come up with stories, and we had this character. It's like a black, like, bottomless hole. It's like we called it the pit or whatnot. It was so random, but it was an inside joke we had. And I was like, she introduced me to this game. I'm obsessed with it now. It would be so funny if I took this character we made and put it into the Doki Doki world. And I was like, I have no idea how to do that. And I'm on YouTube one day and I see a word Doki Doki mod. And I'm like, well, that can't be that difficult, right? It's got to be simple. And here I am 3 years later. It was not that simple, but making it was just so enjoyable. And the best part was showing it to my friend and just seeing her reaction. I was like, okay, I want to do this with people. I want to do this more. That was just my entire motivation for starting.
It seems like you had a lot of fond memories with Doki Doki Literature Club with your friend, and of course all of the events happened in the game. I think everyone watching can also agree with that. It is like an emotional roller coaster. But was there a specific scene in there that really like hit it home? You were like, man, this is definitely the game. There's a lot of scenes, of course, you could refer to, but just picked a few of them that it just really stood out to you.
So when I was playing the game, Sayori spoke out to me the most. She still does. She is like as I was playing through the game now, I was spoiled about how the game was going before I played it. I knew what was going on. I knew what was going to happen to Sayori, but I still had a connection with her. And even when we got to the part where, she took, she was gone, it still hurt, just as much as if I didn't know, as much as if I didn't know what was going to happen. So I had a really fond connection with her, and just the idea, like this girl who wants to make her friends happy and all this other stuff, doesn't know how to explain how she feels sometimes. Having like this connection with someone. So her death scene was one of those scenes that just made me stop, and I'm like, this is not like a game I've ever played before. That was my first real experience of a game where something like that happened. And I was just like, I didn't know a game could like make you get like emotionally attached to a character like this and just do this to you. And it was just a whole new thing for me. I didn't know games could do that. Another part that probably spoke out to me at the most would be the end of the game when you're talking to Monica, because I was sitting there and it's just, she was there and it was just her and me and she was talking to me, and something about it felt so real. Like, it's a game, I know it's a game, but I felt like she was talking to me. Something about that was just so cool.
I 100% agree with that. The Sayori scene was, if you've seen the channel, I'm always talking about Sayori being the best character. I just feel like the writing for her, it just, I don't know, even if the game is only like 2 or 3 hours long, it seems like you've known Sayori for like all your life, and it really is heartbreaking when you get to that scene when, Sayori takes her life. It's pretty heartbreaking, and I just think the writing in the game is amazing, and I think that's probably why the game got so popular in the first place. Definitely makes a lot of sense why you played the game and then you loved it so much you decided to start creating mods about it. So we talked about Doki Doki Literature Club. You talked about how you felt about the game. Do you have any advice when creating DDLC mods? It's clearly a big process, but let's say somebody in the audience wants to create a DDLC mod. They want to get into this stuff. They have no idea where to start. They don't even know how to program anything. Where do they start, and how does it all begin? What are your newbie tips for beginners?
Okay, so I was in the same boat. So if you're watching this and you literally don't know how to do any of this stuff, you could even sit there and be like, I don't know how to write. Like, I was in the same boat, okay? And for me, I don't know how I got the motivation. I am so glad I did. I mean, I've met so many amazing people doing this. I made a mod a bunch of people like, but the best advice I wish I gave myself when I started was, you don't need to beat yourself up because you don't know something. I was over here thinking, oh, this should be easy. And then when I didn't understand it the first time, I would get upset with it. And it was really frustrating because I was like, this doesn't look like it's that hard. I'm watching these videos of people doing it and they're doing it in 5 minutes. And here I am 2 weeks later, I still can't do it. It's really frustrating. So you gotta, take it at your own pace. It is okay. It took me 3 years to get where I'm at, where maybe it could take someone else 4 months to get where I'm at. It's different for everyone. And another big piece of advice I cannot, explain enough is give yourself a break. There are so many times during my mod process where I would have this huge motivational creative flow and I'd be like, oh, I could do this and this and this. but I would keep doing it for months and months and I would burn out and then I couldn't do anything for like 4 months. So I was losing time by not giving myself a break. So taking a break is very important, especially if you are coding. Giving yourself that break away from the code and then coming back to it, it's so much it's so much easier because you can see what you might have messed up for. It helps with the writing too. Like I'm helping write something for someone right now and it's taking me a while, but I want to make sure I have the right motivation for it. So making sure you have those breaks in between is very important. And then for, where to start, like if you're sitting here and you're like, well, where do I even start to make a mod? What do I even do? And I have to say the first thing is you have to have a base idea. You do not have to have a whole script. You don't have to have a whole thing. Just one base idea. My whole base idea when I started my mod was I wanted it to be like instead of where we talk to Monica about stuff, we talk to Sayori. Instead of like a after story or whatever, I wanted it to be like Sayori. And that was my base idea. Now, is my mod anything like that? No. But because I had that idea where I wanted it to be about Sayori, I managed to get all the ideas I needed to. So, the base idea, you want to start there. Then, after that, when it comes to writing, you just got to start writing. Just write whatever comes to your head. You can fix it up later. Writing is supposed to be messy. And then, as you go on, especially if you have a team of people helping you write, those people will come in and, it'll get a lot smoother over time. So, writing is going to take time as well. And then, for coding, I did learn through YouTube videos, but I can understand it is very overwhelming to start from that. So, my best piece of advice is you start with a YouTube video, but also just start looking at code yourself. It's a lot easier if you're just doing it on your own than just watching someone else do it. Do the code with them. If you're watching someone mod something and they're showing you how to do it, do the code with them. Because if you just sit and watch, you're going to feel overwhelmed. I know that much. So I think that's the most I can say about that.
That's funny. I was just gonna ask you about burnout if you ever experienced it, because at least for me here on YouTube, it is exactly how you explained it. I'll go through spurts where I'll pump out so many videos, I'll schedule all of them, I'll have a blast editing them, and I'll have all these great video ideas. And then sometimes I just have no idea what to do, and I'm sitting on my desk wondering if I should just like come up with some boring video and just upload it and pretend I actually thought it was a good idea when it probably wasn't. And also about the last thing you said about watching YouTube videos, that's also great advice. I don't know how many times I have watched something, usually tech related, and try to learn how to do something, and I'll look at the video, I'm like, my God, I can't do this. This is like a 22-minute video. How am I going to ever do this? And if I actually do sit and watch the video and do it while they were doing it, it just makes it so much easier.
You're breaking it down into like other steps.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I wanted to also ask about how you promote the mod, because I know you post it on Reddit and you have a lot of posts. I also saw that you have, I don't know what you would call them, progress reports, maybe milestones that you say like, oh, we're this close, and you'll probably have a sneak peek. And then you also probably post stuff on there after it was released to have people share what they think about it. Is there anywhere else that you share your mods, like on a YouTube channel, or you said you have an Instagram? Do you promote it there as well? And how do you get people to find out about it? Because I looked at your Reddit post, or I don't know if you posted, but I saw it and it looked like a lot of people were commenting and there were a lot of upvotes. It looked pretty popular.
So the best way to promote a Doki Doki mod is by joining the Reddit page, the Doki Doki modding community, because there are so many people there. Not everyone there is out there to create a mod. There is a good majority of people who are just there to find mods. So everyone there is all excited if someone's like, oh, I had this idea for a mod. I mean, the amount of people who are like, oh, I can't wait to hear more about this. I mean, at the beginning of my mod, people were like, I can't wait to see where this goes. So promoting it there, and then especially giving updates there. So if you're going to post something about a mod on there, make sure you give the people updates. They're going to want them. Even if you don't think they care, someone there does. As well as promoting it other places. I mean, I do promote it on my YouTube channel a lot. I guess YouTube kind of helps. Just kind of promoting it wherever you can and seeing, how many people you can, reach through all these different places. I do Instagram. I do YouTube. I mean, I have Twitter and stuff, but, I don't really use the Twitter as much, but it's still nice to know that it's out there somewhere. But I mean, Reddit is the best place to do it. If you want people to see it, Reddit is the best place to do it, and giving updates is helpful. Even if you know you've been working on this mod for 3 months and you're just sitting here and you're like, I have no updates, just, edit a little picture of just Sayori just saying, yeah, we're working on it. And people will appreciate that too. They just like to know that, this mod they heard about is still happening. And then, once you build up a little community, for me, Instagram is where I built up the most of my community. It's where I'm the most popular. So I give the most updates on my Instagram. I give updates everywhere else as well, but I make sure that the place that I have the most people is where I give the most updates. So it's just gonna depend on where you get seen the most and, how many people are watching, and then that's where you really want to give the updates.
I definitely agree with your statement about diversifying where you upload your stuff. Of course, you have Reddit, which is probably the best place to post all mod stuff since it's literally DDLC mods. That's where people are going to be looking to play new ones and also trying to look for people to get in contact with to help make mods. And you got your Instagram, which I also assume that you would post a lot of stuff about mods on there, and you also said you had a big following over there, which is great. And what about your YouTube channel? Do you just post mod updates, or do you have playthroughs or other stuff about other games?
I mean, I have to say my YouTube channel is probably one of the most messy. Like, I keep a lot of it with DDLC stuff, but sometimes it's just me being random and playing games. It's a little everywhere. So I know the majority of people who are there are mostly there for the DDLC stuff for my mods, so I make sure I post that mostly. But when it comes to YouTube, one of the things I'll say is, I mean, if you want to post more than one thing on there, you can. Yes, at the end of the day, you're going to find something's more popular than the other, but it's your channel. If you want to post something else random, you can do that. I post random stuff, but I do make sure that, since I see my most popular are for my mod, I do make sure I post as much as I can there.
DDLC is a pretty popular game. I know you also said you made videos on your channel about random stuff about other games. Were there any other games you played? What other games do you play, and do you have any preferences when it comes to playing other games?
Ever since I played Doki Doki, the idea of psychological horror has become my new thing. Because before Doki Doki, I never heard of psychological horror. I hated horror. I still hate horror because of jump scare, but then all of a sudden I hear psychological horror, and it's a horror that messes with your own mind. And I was like, okay, that's really cool. And so psychological horrors are my new favorite thing, to the point where I am now creating my own game that is a psychological horror. I'm always looking out for games like that. When I was done playing Doki Doki and I was like, what else am I supposed to do? I would spend hours looking up what are games that are like it, I wanted to find something that would give me that same feeling, that kind of, oh, I'm attached to this character, well, they're gone now. Oh, well, you're thinking this thing, we know what you're thinking, and we're gonna trick you and stuff. And some of those games that do that, Needy Streamer Overload, I don't think it really is a psychological horror as much, but I feel like just that fact that you have control over this one person, and there's so much going on, that one's a really good one. There's not really that many I play that have the horror fact. I mean, Class of '09 for a visual novel, I wouldn't say it's the best thing. It's, sometimes if I'm really bored, I'll just play that one just for the fun of it. But I think it's more just the fact that there's just a bunch of characters there you can interact with that I like about that. Other than that, I think Doki Doki's one of the main ones. I like to find games that are close to it, as if I can't find a psychological horror, I like to play games that give me that, attachment to a character where, like you were explaining earlier, we only talked to Sayori for a few days, but with the way it was written, it feels like we were talking to her forever. And I like games that are like that, like Undertale. You could see this character and fight them one time, but then you learn more about them and you're like, I feel like I've known them for a year or something, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the games you brought up are pretty popular in, I don't even know what you would call it, the psychological horror genre, because I get a lot of comments on my videos asking for playthroughs of other games that are similar. Needy Streamer Overload's a big one. I even made a video about it on the channel a little while ago, and I do plan to play through it. I don't know if I'm going to stream it or do it on the channel, but I do plan to play it at least on my own. And I played My Side as well. I don't know if you played that game. But
I've played a bit of it.
And also, yeah, you talked about Undertale. That game is a critically acclaimed game. I've heard many great things about it. Probably one of the most popular indie games out there. I don't know why, but merch videos just seem to be a big thing there. I swear I make like one of them every week, it seems like. But do you ever look into the merchandise for the game? I know Good Smile makes figures, and I know they also have a lot of other collaborations with other stuff. But do you ever look into that stuff? Do you have any of the merchandise?
So I am definitely crazy about it. There was a point, what was it, a few months ago, where, I just had a job and so I had money and, could have saved it, but I realized Doki Doki merch was a thing and the money went away and I went and I searched for it and I have the Doki plushies, I have like the little pillows, I have the Nandroids. I have a bunch of the shirts and posters. Basically anything I could find and get, I got it. So,
That's pretty interesting because when I first heard about Doki Doki Literature Club, it was 2021 because that was when I first started this channel. When I first found out, I saw it on some promotion on Steam because they had a thing for it was an old collaboration, the For Fans by Fans one. They had like the best girl competition, and I was like, this game has
mhm.
merchandise. My guy, I had like the biggest obsession with merchandise. I was in high school, it was my freshman year. Of course, I didn't have a job, so whenever I'd do chores, I'd always go ask my parents to go buy merchandise if I would pay them or go.
Mhm.
So they would always look at me like, why are you buying all this stuff? Why are you wasting your money when you could be saving it on better things? And of course, they always gave me that look. And honestly, I don't think they ever really thought I'd be doing this. I'm 17, so of course I still live with them. And when I told them like I'm doing an interview about what we're doing right now, they're like, "Wow, I can't believe that." I mean, he must have really know what he's doing on his YouTube stuff. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they just like pretend I don't do YouTube and they just make fun of me for my hobbies, I guess.
My parents are like that, but also like the opposite. They'll just be like, "Oh, you have a YouTube channel. We have to see everything." And I'm like, "Nope, nope, you don't have to watch everything," because my siblings will try to put it on the TV, and I'm like, I can't hear my voice. It's insane.
Yeah, I have siblings too. I mean, they don't really watch my videos. I don't even know how, but sometimes people from my school will literally find them. They're like, "Your videos are funny." I'm like, "How did you find out about that? Please don't watch it. Please don't tell nobody." Like, I don't know. I just get kind of embarrassed by that. Whether the video I
No, I
dumped
get
my
it.
heart and soul into it, and I tried my very best, and I'm pretty proud of it. Just the fact that someone at my school might see it, and I know people like they give anime the stink eye, like, oh, that's anime. I just kind of like to hide it and not talk about it at school. But what is your favorite character in DDLC?
Okay, it would have to be Sayori. I mean, if it isn't obvious, my entire mod is based around her. So she's just my favorite because I mean, okay, I'll be honest, it's probably the stupidest answer, but she's the first person who popped up on the screen, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I like her." It was funny enough because first ever time like of Doki Doki, I had this one YouTuber I really liked to watch when I was going to sleep, and he had a Doki Doki playthrough. I had no idea what this game was, but I saw it was his longest video on the channel, so I was like, "Oh, if I fall asleep, it's a longer video." And apparently every single time I'd fall asleep before Sayori, ended it. And so all I saw was like this happy little girl and she was living her life. And I was like, oh, this game is pretty cool. And then I had friends come over and they turned on like the Map Pat video. And then I see Sayori like, dead. And I'm like, what? It was so confusing for me. But I was like, no, no, no. I saw this cute little girl, on the screen. I'd watch it before going to bed. I'm like, what happened to her? And then as I like saw more into the game, I was like, nope, she's my favorite.
Yeah, once again, I agree with that. Sayori is definitely my favorite. There's like a million things I could say why. Like, her writing was probably the best. Of course, what happens at the end of Act 1 is pretty tragic, and of course, you gotta have feelings for her. Not that they're bad, they all are all great characters, and they were written pretty well, but Sayori definitely takes the cake. I feel like the other characters don't
Mhm.
get as much screen time, and I think even
Yeah.
people on the channel are pretty well aware that Sayori is my favorite, if you couldn't tell by the profile picture. But yeah, I've even gotten comments of people calling me Sayori Man. I'm being so serious. But
That's insane. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you, but, I think the reason why people like Sayori so much is because, again, as we were talking earlier, Sayori's writing was supposed to be, we've known her, since childhood. So when we're MC and we're putting ourselves in MC, we've known her. And so, we're going to feel the most connected to someone we've known since childhood. And the difference, with Monica, Natsuki, Yuri is, in the game we're only just meeting them. So these are just, strangers. which you can build a connection with, yes, but you don't have that same connection as a childhood friend. So I think that's what's different.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Now, I asked you a lot of questions. Is there anything that you wanted to ask me, interview me on?
Only thing I want to say is that after you make a mod, you can have a lot more appreciation for other mods. And so I think people need to appreciate the smaller things that happen in a mod. Like, there are some mods, people don't like it for the storytelling, which is fine. But, at the end of the day, you still gotta appreciate if the writing sucked, okay, that's okay. But, the coders did put a lot of work into it. And there's a lot of times where in mods, there's like a little coding feature that, maybe has like a whole like music section or whatnot. And no one talks about it. And I have a music section in my mod and it took me 4 months to make. So when I see a little music section and I'm playing a mod, I will sit down and take 2 hours just to stay there to show a little appreciation because I'm like, look, I've been there. It's just there. Some people, you don't have to care about it. It's fine. But for me, who had to sit and make my own, I can appreciate it way more. So I think we need to appreciate the small things in Doki Doki mods instead of just finding one thing to hate about it and giving up on it. That's the only thing I can think of right now.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said before, there are plenty of things that go into creating a DDLC mod. It's not just, I want to make a mod about Sayori and then mod happens. And while I haven't made a mod, but yeah, as someone who, you said you made one, yeah, you're definitely going to see all that stuff. I guess it's kind of a similar way with editing videos. Of course, editing videos is not as challenging as making an entire mod, like an entire game over here. A similar way, because I do watch YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I see all these highly edited videos, and I'm like, man, imagine that took a long time to edit.
Yeah, one of the weirdest things that I respect more now is at the end of my mod when I had to sit and make the credits of everyone. And I'm just over here, I'm making the credits, and I'm like, look, ever since I was younger, I would sit in a theater and I could care less about the credits. But ever since I made the credits, I will sit down now if I'm watching something and I will read the credits. Because, not just because it did not take me that long to make the credits, but the fact that, when I was done with the credits and I watched the video of those credits and I'm like, I had all of those people help me, and all of those people played a part into this project. That meant a lot to me. So now if I see something simple, if I see a movie or whatnot and I'm reading this and I'm like, all of those people helped in some way. So I even respect, credits more now.
As a big thing, a lot of people kind of just, not really pay much attention to the credits or skip them. But yeah, definitely from your point of view, the credits definitely mean a lot since every person on that credit sheet is a very valuable asset to the mod and helped out greatly. Now before I end this, do you want to share your social media so the people watching can check you out and support your mods and your Instagram?
Yeah, so basically you can find me anywhere. I mean, I use MsMod for everything, but on YouTube it's just MsMod. Both of the M's are capital. I gave the Instagram earlier. Reddit just gave me they generated a name for me, and I don't know how to change it, but I can't remember what it is right now. I'm kind of just around everywhere too, so, every once in a while you'll just see MsMod pop up, and I'm just there. Only other thing I could say is if anybody has any other questions or something I didn't cover, that I can probably also give you my email. You can leave that in the video too, so they can come and talk to me. I like helping people, if they have a question about a mod, if they're sitting here and they're like, I'm overwhelmed, what specific video should I start with? I know these things, and it will take a much longer video to explain that. So if they have questions, they can either ask it in the comments, they can, any of the socials that were just mentioned, they can ask me in those. I suck at replying sometimes, but I do my best, and I will be able to be here to give advice and help them out if they needed it.
Thanks for sharing, and thanks for being there for other people who want to follow in your path and create mods as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for me. Thanks for letting me do this interview. I greatly appreciate it.